Ken's over there.
Hey,
He
hey
builds.
guys.
Hi there.
Hello.
So the fact of all those checks is okay. Freight limit, still do freight limit. Can't tell.
Just like, somebody had an airplane or drone or something. Ford, it was just trucks lined up, just waiting for the tips.
Yeah. That's all in parking lot.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Chris, you want that thumb drive now, so you have it for his presentation, or you want to just so you have it now? Yeah, it's the 350 back in April. Are you gonna get it this year? It's supposed to be sold, it's late this month, but that was right before they, came out and said, they were laying off for 2 weeks. Yep. Yep. Assuming
You got the second email. The second. So there's 3 people.
Hey, Danny.
Hi, Danny. Hey, you're moving pretty fluid right now.
Game. Steady by jerks.
Yeah.
Knee scope.
Yeah.
Scope knee, you're moving pretty good.
Yeah, afternoons are better than the mornings.
Gets warmed up.
Evidently. Mornings aren't too good.
Six to 8 we normally do.
Just a Sunday night this year.
Yeah, because there's some.
I think it's 6:35, so I guess that you can start earlier and be done earlier. Just throwing that out.
Is that even, Rick is doing 6 to 6.
It's kind of shocking how much trick or treat hours they get.
The servants, the dispatcher.
We start getting calls in like July.
Won't even know when the
When
hours
the
are.
hours are.
Right, we've got a plan there.
Really?
There might be a little thing that they're original schedule, too, but a lot of infrastructure work is done. But it's supposed to be a little bit of spread out, but they, it's work at dispatch, I do that on temporary, so, yeah. So that'd be a change for them, because we're still,
Now what's going on?
UHF before. Yeah, UHF, yes. We're based on 1970s platform.
Did you click on it?
Yeah.
Alt Control Delete.
Who's that?
Alt Control Delete. I don't know. It says it's not responding. Nope. 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 Holy crap. Now it's going off. You hit your buttons too fast. Now it shut off completely.
Well, good.
It's catching up on you
Just
shutting it
leave
off.
it that way.
I gotta turn it back on.
Still fingerprint pencil works best.
You didn't go to Vegas?
No. No, I didn't.
Well, I mean, the nice side about it is
It'd been fun out there.
It would have been cool.
There was a bunch of them out there.
I've seen a couple pictures, it looked like a Red Sea going on.
Said that there was over 40,000 Buffalo fans out there.
No kidding, yeah. It's pretty neat.
Actually,
Regular season games.
over in college.
It's quite a stadium.
Oh, yeah, go get to see the shoot.
If there's anything I need to know, just wake me
It's
up.
not when you get to do that.
Wouldn't think they'd have any trouble scheduling.
No. Is that where you, so you know, you get us there?
Yeah,
It is, huh?
yeah, them and, what's the new pro team?
They have updates. I just said,
Okay, yeah, the Raiders.
it was
They
working.
shared that, they were talking about that, and they said that, Raiders play on real turf, and, the university plays on artificial turf, and they take it up, put the new turf down, they put the real turf in. They said they have it all piled up on the side. Isn't that crazy?
This is the fastest system. That means it's the fastest that.
I was almost gonna click over.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I think your album started when you were in there.
I suppose, I don't know.
No, but
They said they
actually
have
Saturday
no
night
locker
did.
rooms. I mean, they
Run
said
it, shut it down, updates and put it in.
that is cool.
That seems to be the best, you never know
Yeah.
when you shut it down, if there's gonna be updates you need to do.
So you tell me this, how come my wife's hotmail agent?
Really?
You asked me that last
Yeah,
week.
I knew some
That
people
is,
went.
or last, that is,
Drives me absolutely crazy.
Check your internet connection. You having trouble getting hooked up?
Yeah, now you're in trouble.
You having trouble getting hooked up?
I can tell the guys I want new laptops.
So I guess we.
See, on this end, we're okay, you guys can have it down there.
So that means we can go home?
We stuck around.
Good to see you.
Hey, look at you going.
Look at that. The black screen.
Proxy settings.
It's working.
Might get it going by the end of the week.
Tries, it's retried 7, 16, 15, 14.
See, I'm not this-
It's going down, the retries, maybe it's doing something. Oh.
Another day above ground, it's true.
There it comes up.
Have Curtis do it for you.
Tried. Tried.
So you put your, little poster.
In your office.
Coming up now.
You're not.
It'd be a wonderful conversation piece.
It would be an interesting conversation piece, that's for sure.
I mean, it's perfect. That seems kind of nice.
Maybe down the road when your office people get sick of it.
Well, it's a fun story, it's a fun and funny story to tell.
It really is.
At the end of the day, so.
Sweet, they have updates.
Well, waiting them up.
Yeah.
Be a conversation breaker for everybody that walks in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Internet Tuesday.
We
Are
got,
you
he's
on
got the
COG
agenda
guest?
and some of it. Take care of it.
Call this meeting to order at 7:01. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
234 for the COJ guest one. That one's goofy.
Everybody please put on their mics. Would the clerk call a roll of the council?
Denny Bell,
Here.
Curtis Shares,
Here.
Dave Bishop,
Here.
Craig Ray,
Here.
Todd Rolfe.
Here.
We have a quorum tonight. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Be a roll call vote then?
Bell,
Yes.
Shares,
Yes.
Yes.
Bishop,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Rolfe.
Yes.
That motion passes. Is there anyone here that'd like to address the city council for citizens input? We'll move on to departmental reports. Any questions from the council or any department heads have anything to add?
So next one, you want me up here? Chris? All right, so in my council report, I elaborated a little bit about, the vehicle apparatus, that we've been working on for the last couple of years, or couple of years really, for the fire department, our rescue truck in particular. So I'm just going to elaborate a little bit more on that tonight. I did have the opportunity to speak with each of you individually, just to kind of bring you up to speed as to what we're doing on the department and why we are where we are today. So thank you, Mayor, even for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I'm going to bring you up to speed on the research involving the replacement of our rescue truck for Jessup Fire. As well as you know, as you well know, our department has been blessed with donations from 3 separate estates recently. In particular, the Phipps Stoddard estate, which originally was $54,000, and I believe that was probably back in the 2015-16 era. There is some money left on that estate. And Grant and Dorothy Sundquist estate most recently, we were left $290,000 from them, of which I think we've received a portion of that, and due to receive the remainder by the end of this year. And then the Fire Association also was recently notified that we're going to be donated $50,000 plus. We don't know what that number is. We just said north of 50,000 from the Dr. Rudy Kubik estate. He was a fire chief for MHI in Independence, and more particularly the dentist over there, from what I understand, for several years. But so I think the fire department was near and dear to his heart, and he left some monies to, I think, us, Independence, and Fairbank fire departments, as well as several other organizations. So in total, in those memorial accounts, both with what the city's going to hold and what the Fire Association will have, will be north of $384,000 in donations from those estates. So essentially, these gifts have the opportunity to literally propel our department forward by literally probably 10 years or more. If you figure the inflation value of the dollar and trying to save for the large projects such as this, I mean, when you're talking $500,000 vehicle acquisition and inflation and price increases and all those things that add up over that 10-year period that you're trying to save that money. I personally can think of no better way to honor their donations but to put them back into the form of an apparatus that will serve the over 6,000 plus residents in our fire protection district for the next 20, 30 years, whatever, and thereon. So tonight I have with me Eric Feevaker with Reliant Fire Apparatus, who I've been closely working with over the past several months, and prior to him even Dustin Scholes with Reliant. Previously on the original, when we started talking about a rescue years ago, just trying to figure out where we were going to be. So
in trying to dial in that appropriate apparatus that fits the needs of our department specifically. Eric's also a volunteer fire chief, so he understands the end user position of having a functional piece of equipment like this, so that made the conversation a little easier, because this isn't something we do very often, acquire new trucks. So when you're specifically talking about custom built trucks and how that works and you're building it around your equipment, it's nice to have, yes, a salesman, but at the same point somebody else that's in the same field and understands what you're talking about and has been there. So Eric's expertise in the build out of these trucks has streamlined the process as much as allowable, and has brought insight and recommendations into this that I wouldn't normally have the privilege of knowing going through this. So I do appreciate that, Eric. Also this evening I've invited Mr. Tom Whitmer to be with us. Tom is the Director of Business Development at Pierce specifically, and is involved directly with the financial solutions piece of the puzzle that will hopefully allow this project to come to fruition. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. And I'm not going to try to take a pile of your time, just going to try to get through this. So I'm going to give you a little bit of quick background information specifically on our current apparatus, and the visions we hold for our future heavy rescue and how I envision the whole process coming together. So our current truck is a 2001 Ford F650, and it was acquired by us somewhere around 2004. Previously, this was a wrecker chassis, either a wrecker or rollback chassis, that was converted into a fire truck by us. Alumaline in Cresco built the body for us, aluminum body, and that's how we ended up with this truck, or where this came from. So sort of used, it wasn't new when we acquired it, and so we're talking, this thing is 20 years old right now. Some of the issues obviously we have, this thing needs no less than a complete lighting system overhaul. This is back in the 12-volt days of halogens and rotators, and those things suck a lot of energy and juice, and we're dealing with that all the time, trying to keep this thing together. So we've replaced a little bit of that, some LED light bars and things, but the body itself, the aluminum body is stress cracked on both sides. I'm assuming from probably over usage, overweight. It's been like that for 7-8 years. Roll-up doors are becoming a little bit difficult to operate. Many operational slides internally. Some of the locking mechanisms on those don't lock anymore, so they need rework. Our SCBA pack storage, which is not in the cab, it's in the back of the body, was originally set up for our Scott air packs. We now, 5 years ago, whatever it was, when we went to MSA, those don't necessarily fit in there very nicely, and whenever we slide that out, it's taking its toll on the way it's set up, I guess I should say. They're hitting the door and stuff when they're coming out, and it's just a real pain. But the truck is overloaded. We're out of space. We don't have enough space for all of our equipment. There's equipment that literally sits in the fire station and has to be deployed either by personal vehicle or some other means. And particularly, I'm talking about grain bin rescue equipment, hazmat cleanup kits. That's a 55-gallon tote alongside of other stuff for dikes and things like that. Our SCBA refill station is homemade. I think Laverne Ladaghi made that several years ago, so never certified, and that's back when we were using 2,200 pound or PSI tanks. We're now up to 4,500 PSI tanks, so probably not the best situation if a tank were to go, but it's what we got. So residual value, I would say today is, I hope, $40,000 to $50,000 on the open market on what this thing is worth. I won't know that until that day comes, but I would speculate that that's where we're at. So I'm going to move into the new truck, kind of what we're looking for, what we're trying to accomplish. Chris, can you put up the drawing? I think I gave you 3 PDFs. It should be the first one. So essentially, it's going to have a lot of the same look as the other pumper. Specifics, one of the biggest things that we have that we don't have, never have had, is an area for rehab. So firefighting when it's extremely hot out, or in the hot scenarios where people need to be able to get cooled down. We have an ambulance typically on scene on some of those, but if somebody has to go by ambulance, then that piece of apparatus disappears. So, and generally when we're firefighting and it's that hot, every time somebody comes out of a house or needs to get it in somewhere to cool down, constantly in rotation. So there's two ways to handle that. Either, in my opinion, either you create the walk-in body, which would be more for a commercial truck chassis, so a Peterbilt Freightliner. When I say commercial, you can build the body so that you have a walk-in compartment, it's called, and that's either accessed from the back stairs with the door and whatever, essentially down the center of the truck, almost like where a tank would be on a pumper, and that's where you would ride. That would be the riding position also for people packing up in SCBAs and whatever, but that's your air-conditioned area. So to do that, or to build that box on something like this would essentially be a wash in going to a custom cab. So we've opted obviously to go to the custom for several reasons. So this one, if we're going to compare it to our other truck, this area in particular is 14 inches deeper, and this roof is 14 inches taller. So somebody 6'3", 6'6",
6'1"
can stand up inside the cab. Where ours now is you're ducked over, but it's still obvious a lot of room. So 5 riding positions for the passengers, the driver obviously. So the same configuration in that aspect. And so the other thing this will allow us is with that larger cab, so any larger scale where we need to run incident command, so situations where like we had the train derailment several years ago, or just larger scale incidents that you need to run incident command out of, we don't have anything that we can do that with now, and you would also be able to do that with a walk-in body, but that's not really what we're after. So obviously if you're looking at this and comparing it to our Rescue Now is eliminate this box here, and that's how much storage we have, and this area up here, this coffin storage is shorter. So by adding these 2 extra compartments, both sides, that allows us to get our grain bin rescue equipment in there. And then up top, we've also had to eliminate our Stokes basket. That's one thing for medical stuff, where intricate things you need to get people out of for high angle rescue situations, grain bin type stuff where you put them in a rigid basket for transporting people. We had to eliminate that when we got this rescue, and so we would be implementing that back into this. Just a lot of different things there. So I'm gonna stick to this. I don't keep blabbing. So this will also have a true 2-cylinder fill station for SCBA bottles. Right now we only have a single, and like I said, it's homemade. No compressor, because I think the compressor option was another $30,000-$40,000 on top of what we have. So this is just a filling station. More capacity in the bottle storage, but a legitimate 2-bottle fill station. This truck will also have a winch in the front and rope and tie-down points to allow for rigging on technical rescue situations. We already talked about the Stokes basket. And so the other things in particular to the Pierce, obviously, as we talked on the last truck as well, single source manufacturer and fully custom built from the ground up, no boxes. The only other way to a lot of the other builds out there are you buy this box, and you're pretty much bolting your body together, whereas Pierce is a custom built from the ground up to our exact and specific specifications. So now we're gonna have some pretty unique capabilities that we were never able to have before. So like this area here can go all the way through the truck. Truck's 9 foot, 8.5 feet wide. So now we can put full 4x8 sheets of plywood in there, and what we use that for, or we've had to use before, trench rescue, tiling incidents where people are stuck in ditches or excavating. So we have no way of carrying that now. So that can be those things are possible when building a truck like this, whereas not having a fully custom, you don't really get a lot of those options. So with that, that's kind of a shortened version of what all went into this, but obviously we're gaining a whole lot of extra space, and a truck that will serve us well into the future. So with that, I'll entertain any quick questions. Eric can be asked specifically too if there's something I can't answer, but otherwise we can move on.
What's your capacity? How many tanks can you refill?
So right now on our 3-bottle system, you're talking SCBA tanks
Yeah.
that the guys wear. So you have 3 6,000 PSI ISO tanks, they're called, and we could probably get 12 to 14 fills, 16 possibly, of the smaller bottles that the guys put on their back. So we'll increase it by 1 bottle, and you'll be able to probably get up into the low 20s. Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, so we'll talk numbers. Obviously, those are always entertaining. Chris, can you throw up the
pricing?
final pricing? Yep. So, base unit price, we're at $648,000. Way more than I ever dreamed of, but I guess I didn't understand what all goes into building a rescue. So Pierce, and we did this last time by prepaying or paying as much up front as possible. So if you can pay for the entire vehicle up front, they're going to give you a $22,455 discount, which brings the total vehicle acquisition price down to just under $626,000. At this time, I'm going to have Tom come up and explain a little bit about how the financing portion works, because that's kind of what we're talking about here, is how we're going to make this possible. And then when he's done, I will give you like our current financial situation, where I think the monies can come from, what we have, what we don't, and what we need to acquire, and how I think we get to that number. So with that, I'll let Tom take the floor quick.
I got this in my jump drive, if you don't, there we go. Yeah, well, I think you can go to the next slide. We offer our customers financing at Pierce. We've been doing it for 25 years. Instead of Pierce doing it, we partner with PNC Bank.
Can you go around because of the microphone?
Yep.
Thank you.
So we partner with PNC Bank. If you watch the college football this weekend, you saw a lot of PNC Bank ads. And so we offer a tax-exempt municipal lease. It's a very common method of procuring apparatus. We've done over $1 billion of it. About 50, go to the next slide too. About 15-20% of Pierce trucks are financed via municipal lease. So if you don't know what a lease is basically a loan, except you can cancel it annually if you run out of money. That clause is put in there by municipalities to make it an easier method of procuring apparatus with debt. So in a lease, you don't have to go to a voter referendum. All that's required is the city council pass a resolution. And that non-appropriation or annual out clause is the reason why that's classified that way. The lease payments generally not classified against the city's debt limits. Generally, the lease payments fall in the operating budget, and that's why the lease was developed. So cities could pull money out of their operating funds versus their capital, their CIP funds. And if they had the money in the operating budget, they can go ahead and approve a lease without going to a voter referendum, issuing a costly bond, which, on the bond side, the administrative costs, legal costs of bonds, about 2% of the issuance costs are legal fees, what we found out. And so on the lease side, the lease doesn't require as much legal review. It's a smaller document, and it's generally a quicker close. It has tax-exempt interest in it. Tax-exempt interest means that PNC Bank, our bank partner, does not pay federal income tax on the interest income it receives. Corporate tax right now today is 21%. That means Jessup, the fire district, can borrow at 79% of the interest rate that Pierce can borrow at. And then when I'm talking about interest rates, I can't tell you where they're gonna go, but I can tell you where they've been. And I've been doing this for a long time, and these are as low as I've seen. And nothing is good happened out of this pandemic, but I think the one good thing is this collapsed interest rates tremendously. And I don't think this is really a news flash. I think if you're just watching general media, they've been telling you that. And so the rates really are very low right now. And so it's an optimal time to really, if you want to issue debt, it's a good time to do it. Mayor, could you please go to the next slide? Yeah. So some of our banks have been doing this for a long time, 25 years. Our team together has been together, 15 years. We've done over $1 billion of it. But we partner with PNC Bank, third largest bank in the U.S. They can do any size deal, any size customer. We can do flexible payment structures. When I talk about flexibility is if you've got some budget hurdles early on, let us know, because we can structure payments with step payments. We could lower payment and then step them up to work around your budget needs to get your truck into your fleet today. We offer a lot of lease plans for fleet replacement. We offer some turn-in type structures and things like that, and lease purchases. And as Chief highlighted, the prepaid program, we offer a prepaid program to lower payments, and I have an example of that, how it works. We have a deferred payment option, so you can lock in your interest rate today, lock in the truck order today. You can fix your payments today, and you get a discount to do that. And I will highlight that in a slide. No documentation fees. The payments are the payments. The rates are the rate. We do have dedicated account executives to assist you. We have PNC gives us two people. All day long they do Pierce business throughout the United States. So Michelle Zitko, she's been with us for over 15 years. She's done a lot of financing of fire apparatus. And so there's a 1-800 number, right to Michelle. She's with you the entire time from the start of the relationship to the end of the relationship. And so, but she will assist you through what needs to happen. If you decide to finance through our program, she will send you an introductory email with a resolution, credit application, and she'll walk you through to make sure it's a quick close for you folks. So, next slide, please. So leasing is actually pretty popular today. I've been traveling all over the country. I was in New Jersey on this weekend. I was in Pennsylvania the week before that, and Iowa here. So if I mess up where I'm at, I've been on planes. But anyway, I'm really busy with it because leasing has a lot of benefits. It conserves cash. For cities, you don't have to come up with 100% of the cost of the truck. You can spread the capital cost over time. And with interest rates the way they are today, a lot of cities are taking advantage of that. They're spreading the capital costs over time because the interest costs are very low. You could purchase apparatus at today's cost with next year's budget, and that's our deferred payment structure, which I'll highlight. Prepaid program, same way, it reduces cost, and I talked about structuring the payments through the budgets. Big thing about leasing is that I was being taught this by cities that line items the budget. When they say line item is, you're just spreading the capital cost over time, you're making the payments, and then when you want to replace, you're just entering into a new lease versus coming up with 100% of the capital cost. So some cities find that attractive because they can replace when apparatus needs to be replaced if they're in the event of, like we've had financial crises 12 years ago and pandemics now. So you can really execute replacement plans in any economic environment through leasing. And then here, if you use the next slide. So I highlight the prepaid program, and we're talking about the heavy-duty rescue, $648,310. The prepaid discounts, $22,455, and so if you take advantage of the prepaid program, you're going to finance $625,855. And so how our prepaid program works is I actually report to the treasurer of Oshkosh Corporation, our parent company. And he tells me he's got to get money to buy material to build the apparatus. So he can get it from the bond market or he can get it from customers. And he's going to pay the same interest rate to the bond market and customers. And so what he does is he pays you an interest rate over the lead time it takes to build the apparatus. And so instead of paying you monthly for that, he's going to discount the cost of the apparatus up front by the interest paid into it over the lead time. And so our lead times are out there, and it's a combination of what's going on in this pandemic. I'm not gonna talk about it, but we've had kind of the pent-up demand that was, last year, and then we have supply chain bottlenecks of folks in our supply chain, labor shortages, materials, things like that. We're just starting to get ramped up. So we had these two things collide, and so the lead times are 15 to 16 months, but we're not going to. So how we do these transactions is, if you finance through the program, PNC Bank will prepay the order. And so you prepay the order, they're going to, be so kind as to flip back one more slide. Yeah, one more slide. Before, just go back. And one more. Yeah, there we go. And so what we do is, the time of order, the order's paid, you get the prepaid discounts, and your interest rate and payment's fixed at the time of order. So you don't have to worry about, Chairman Powell, the Federal Reserve, he's saying he's gonna raise rates. I keep hearing middle of 2022. He said 2023, but now he's hinting middle of 2022 because of the inflation and we're experiencing right now. But you get today's interest rates, your payment's fixed, and so your budget's fixed. You just put the payment in the budget; it's not going to change. And so on that prepayment, you're protected with their performance bond. And that performance bond, what it does is it's an insurance policy. We've been building trucks for 107 years, and if we don't build yours, we have never not built one, but if we don't build yours, that performance bond makes sure one's gonna get built, or it's gonna pay off your lease, so you're fully protected. Also within the lease is that we have to deliver within the lead times we state to you, and if we don't, your payment has to be restructured, there's no cost to you. Pierce has to pay interest cost on your behalf to PNC Bank, so you're protected, you're gonna get a truck on time, and because your payments are fixed, that's what you're doing. And if we're late on it, we pay the interest due to that delay. And so because of our lead times right now is, I mentioned we have 1 year deferred payment plans, but we're not gonna start your lease, we're not gonna require a lease payment until your apparatus is delivered. And so when you're looking at this, if you look at October, I think we're looking at February. And so your next payment will be next February. And that's how we're structuring it now based on current lead times as of this month. Then Mayor, if you'd be so kind as to go to the next slide. So we've done some options. I did an option of, I know Andy was saying about the down payment money available, but I said, I'll just show you an option without the down payment to see what it looks like if you want to use those proceeds in another direction. Again, the prepaid discounts, I'm assuming prepaid discount plan, $625,855 is financed. Lease would start in October, February 2023 would be the first payment when it's due. And we gave 3, 5, 7-year options, but we can go 10, 12, 15. We did 3, 5, 7 because within the down payment, it's gonna meet your budget. But I just thought I'd show you this, so you look at it, and the interest rates are highlighted below there. And these are rates as of September. I don't anticipate them moving much. We haven't had much movement over the last since the summer, July through September, have been about the same. So we anticipate them being very similar in October. But anyway, those are payments. You can see, the order and lease start date is in October 2021. First payment would be at the time of delivery, which would be, we're throwing out, February 2023. So you kick it out really 2 budget years when you look at it. And Mary, could you be so kind as to go to the next one? And this is the second option. I think this is the most feasible option, what Chief is presenting here. Because you're going to use that $350,000 down as a down payment, that makes a substantial difference in the payments. I always tell folks there's the best way to reduce your payments, making a down payment, and it's the biggest bang for the buck. And so you're going to finance in this scenario only $275,855, and you'll see the rates are across the board the same, but the payments fall dramatically. I gave you a 3-year option of $95,753 or $757.73. The 5-year lease purchase is $58,829.41, and then a 7-year lease purchase is $43,545.05. And so those take advantage of the $350,000 down payment, and I think Chief, you said you had maybe $384,000, so that would lower those even more if you applied all that money to $384. So any down payment's going to really knock down the annual payment. And then maybe be so kind as to, so this is kind of example I show customers. If you have an apparatus, it's interesting. If you wait 5 years to purchase versus entering into like a 5-year lease purchase now, the numbers show that with today's interest rate, it's more beneficial to enter into the lease purchase now because you're going to save on maintenance costs in the older apparatus, but you're also going to save on these estimated inflation costs. And so what I've shown here is 3% annual inflation. That's been historically what it's run in the industry with suppliers and our material costs. And so, the cost today of $625,855, waiting 5 years is going to, that inflation is compounded at 3%. So, the inflation cost is going to be $99,682. And so, you enter into a lease purchase now, the interest rates are below the inflation rates, and the interest is calculated on an annually reducing principal balance. And so, when you think it through, it's kind of counterintuitive. If you think it through, entering into lease purchase today for 5 years is cheaper than waiting 5 years to purchase, and then you have, maintenance savings because you have a newer apparatus in your fleet, and versus an older apparatus. An older apparatus generally have a little bit more maintenance. They may have some things that need to be replaced on them. But the savings, this example is, $58,182. Today, entering into a 5-year lease versus waiting 5 years to replace an apparatus. And so this is an example I thought I'd just show you folks on this. And then, Mayor, if you're so kind, this is kind of an ad that we ran. I just thought I'd show you because it give you some testimonials we have from some customers. Chief Alan Ernst from Modesto, they did 7 apparatus with us, and we have 5 more coming this month. We have a couple of customers in North Carolina, Georgia. They gave us some testimonials, and so I just thought I would show this here some testimonials that we have from some folks in the industry. And we do financing all over the country. We're in right now we're in 49 of the 50 states. We don't have anything in Alaska right now, so we're looking for an Alaska deal. But anyway. And then Mayor, if you're so kind, just last slide. This is our contact information. So I'm Director of Business Development. I'm actually work for Pierce, and then Michelle Zicko. We're contractual. We have a contractual agreement between Pierce and PNC, and it's interesting because we as a team have been doing this for a long time, where everyone thinks we all work together. We're all working for the same company, but PNC and Pierce are partners in this program. Michelle Zitko, Vice President of PNC, all she does all day long is Pierce quotations for our customers. She helps customers with the financing documentation. She talks to legal folks, to finance folks, and she's your liaison throughout the entire relationship. So that's if there's any questions, we're more than happy to answer those.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
You've done this in Iowa without following the procedures for the GO bond under section 384.25?
Yeah. It's a tax exempt municipal lease.
No, I get that, but
Yeah.
I'm just staring at Iowa Code section 364.4, and it specifically says, I get that they can enter into a lease purchase agreement, totally agree with you there. But it says, the governing body must follow substantially the authorization procedures in 384.25 to authorize a lease or a lease purchase contract for personal property which is payable from the general fund.
Mm-hmm.
They have to, 384.25 is the GO bond requirement.
Mm-hmm.
They do have to still do the notice of publication and present an issue for a ballot. It's not like they can just do a resolution to enter into a lease purchase agreement.
Yeah, and we've had municipalities in Iowa who have gone through and executed the lease without doing a voter referendum because it doesn't affect the debt limit and the non-appropriation clause. The logic of the non-appropriation clause is that the
Yeah, I'd be
payments
interested to know
annually
who you had
cancelable.
that did that. So
Yeah.
Before I can tell them to go ahead and do that, I'd wanna
Yeah.
know what town in Iowa didn't do the GO bond proceeding under 38425 when the code section specifically says you have to do it, even if you're taking it out of the general fund.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, if that's your assessment, then yeah, you'd have to do a voter referendum for it. If that's your legal, if that's how you're interpreting that clause.
I'm just saying, I'm reading it, I'm saying if you
Yeah.
can prove to me otherwise that somebody in Iowa hasn't done that, I'm perfectly open to show me the proof that they don't have to do the voter referendum, and I'm all about telling them, fine, don't do the voter referendum, but I need to know what town did that and who got around it.
Yeah, I
and
give you a
how.
whole list of our Iowa customers. We had that, yeah, I'll give you a whole list. I'm trying to think of the one we most recently did.
Region 5 hazmat,
Yeah,
didn't end up using Bonnet. We can get a list for you.
yeah. So if you're a true 100% volunteer fire department, you do have to do a public hearing notice, but your structure's a fire district, so under the fire district regulations, you should not have to do that. But as a volunteer fire department, if you're 100% volunteer fire department, not structured as a fire district, you do have to do a public notice of the tax exempt interest rate because you're using the interest rate on the municipalities that you service. And so that's an ad in the paper and there's a meeting. But as a fire district, you should not have to do that. But to be honest with you, we've never done it. We never had anybody do a voter referendum. I'll check with PNC, but I've been doing 15 years. We haven't had anybody do a voter referendum for the
Yeah,
for the
if you're reading this
financing.
wrong, I just don't,
Yeah.
I don't want them to leave the meeting tonight thinking, oh, we can just do a resolution and enter into a lease and think it's that simple. I'm not convinced it's that simple.
Okay, yep. We can give you some, yeah, we have customer lists and, give some folks, but if it's your interpretation of it, then a voter referendum would happen, yep.
So that's something to look into. Any other questions from the council?
Yeah, performance bond, that's an insurance, basically insurance policy protects the city, because what you're doing is you're entering into a lease without, without.
cost?
Yeah,
What's the
without an
cost
end.
on it?
The cost is $2.40 per thousand. And that's already built, that's transparent in that proposal.
So,
Yeah,
$1,800.
yeah, so, yeah, Eric, do you have that number? Yeah,
It's on the price sheet.
it's on the price sheet, yeah.
and what's it for again? Protects us
Yeah.
how?
Yeah, because PNC Bank, what they've done is they have pre-funded the lease starts. And so the performance bond acts as collateral for not only Jessup, but for PNC Bank. And it's collateral in that if Pierce doesn't deliver fire apparatus, then the performance bond pays off the lease. And so right now, our bank partner, PNC Bank, about $100 million of cash into Pierce right now. That's secured only with the performance bond. It's a form of collateral that the bank requires. And we also offered all prepay, customers who prepay the orders as protection for them. Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's like, it's like a, the performance bond makes sure that the contract is fulfilled. And if it's not, then the third party who underwrites Pierce and Oshkosh Corporation, that third party then is required, if we don't perform under the contract, that third party ensures performance under the contract. Ensures performance either through a new truck being built, or it pays off the lease entirely so you're not harmed. So if Pierce, I'm trying to give examples of if Pierce for some reason says we're not going to build a fire truck, you're not harmed. The performance bond is an insurance policy that pays off the lease, so you don't have to make lease payments against, without an asset.
Wouldn't we just insure it?
It insures your money.
It
Yeah.
insures the
It
money.
insures the money. Yeah.
Essentially, if Pierce folds up and
If
goes
we
out of
don't
business
get the
because of
truck.
a lawsuit, you
Okay.
don't get your truck, then since you've already given Pierce your money,
Okay.
it's a policy stating you're gonna get that.
Oh,
paid
this
back.
is before the truck arrives
Correct.
in here.
Yeah.
Correct.
This is-
Ah,
this is
that's
one of
It's
the
insurance
James
money on
Bond.
your prepayment.
Gotcha.
And so the prepaid discounts far exceed the cost of the performance bond on that. So you're getting the benefit of, there's $1,600 in performance bond costs and $22,500 in prepaid discounts available.
Anything else? Okay, well, thank you, Tom.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Alright, so quickly, we'll go, you throw up that last, yeah. So this is if the financing portion would work and we were able to put the $350,000 down, where we have monies and where that $350,000 is gonna come from and how the payments are gonna be paid in the 7 or 5 years or whatever from there. So currently in city vehicle replacement, there's $59,500 due to drop in this fiscal year, which you approved in last year's budget. There's $50,000 that'll drop in the end of June, right? And that can be pulled early or put in at any time, from what I understand, Coley.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, so it's already allocated to go into that fund, so essentially there's $109,500 available right there. So then these memorial monies we're talking about, we have not received all of that. I think there's documentation stating that there's whatever's remaining on the Sunquist estate, but currently, there's $216,603 in that memorial account, and due to receive by the end of this calendar year, per that estate, we're supposed to be in that. This is for the $290,000 Sunquist estate is what I'm referring to, but that's where the remaining $116,000 is coming from. So it'd give you a total memorial value of $332,603. We're not using that 116 in this figure because we don't have the money sitting here. Jessup Fire Association Memorial, this is the Rudy Kubik estate, which we're set to receive at any time, 50 or above, so I'm using the less of what I know, 50,000 right there. So how we arrive at this, or how I arrive at this, is using 83,400 of the 109,500 in the vehicle replacement, which will leave $26,000 in that account. Utilizing the $216,600 that's in the memorial account, and then that will have a remaining 116 whenever that shows. And then the fire association would essentially write the city a check for the $50,000 that we received from the Rudy Kubik, which would bring us to the $350,000 down payment that I'm recommending. And so how it works out, if you want to scroll down, is so this is just showing at year 2023 when the truck shows up in February, March, May, whatever it is. That account, this is where this vehicle replacement account is going to build by $50,000 every year. If you guys stay the course like we have for the last several years of putting $50,000 in that account. So first payment's due. We're going to pay the first $45,000 out of the remaining $116,000 of the memorial. So this money, this extra 50 sits there. Another 50 drops in the second year of 2024. Another 45,000 out of the memorial. 2025, we're using the remaining 26,000 out of the memorial. That takes that down to a zero balance, and now we're going to start dipping into the vehicle replacement fund, which at that point has $176,000 in it. We're going to take 19,000 out to fulfill that payment, and from here on out, and I just used 45,000 because I didn't have the numbers yet from Tom, the 43,000 or whatever one you want to use. So just pulling that 45,000 out every year showing how much this is still increasing. So when the truck is paid off in 2029, there's gonna be $177,000 in that vehicle replacement account. The truck's paid for, and we have no trucks to buy for 10, 12, 15 years. 2036 would be when the pumper, that'd be 15 years old, a little early, but just at that point, if you keep putting the 50,000 in, you've got $527,000 in the vehicle replacement plus a truck that's probably worth $250,000. So total project obligation that will be supported by memorial dollars only is well over half at $382,000. And then just trying to be proactive with what Tom showed on just inflation and price increases versus trying to wait it out and trying to save the money over time and trying to play catch up. So it's just presentation I wanted to give you, food for thought, and I guess so I guess we'll have to do some research as far as the GO bond or how all that works, so that everybody's okay with that, or see if that's possible. Or does anybody have any questions on any of that? So
The city's responsible for 4 vehicles then? The bumper, the rescue, and the 2 grass trucks?
yes, yeah. So for 2 grass trucks, the fire association has obviously paid for those over the last 2 replacements. Been fortunate enough that we've had enough budgetary donations over the years to fulfill those. So if it stays that way, then you're essentially replacing, these are your 2 trucks that you have to replace. So
I'm assuming the old rescue truck is not a trade-in? We would
No,
have
it
to
would-
sell
it would-
that.
it would be we'd probably go through Brindley Mountain brokerage. I mean,
Do
they're
the
like a
same.
national brokerage service, or same as we're doing with the grass trucks.
You didn't have that figured into this?
What's that? No, none
Anything
of
back
that
from
money's
that truck?
figured in because I don't know, speculate what it's worth, or
Holy, we'd be paying this out of the general fund, right, not the jet service fund.
General fund,
You have to pay this out of the general fund. Okay.
yeah.
The governing
That's
body
fine.
may authorize a lease or a lease purchase contract, which is payable from the general fund, if the contract would not cause the total of the annual lease or the lease purchase payments due from the general fund in any single fiscal year to exceed 10% of the last certified general fund budget amount. So I assume we wouldn't be exceeding that, right?
You're talking like the 45,000?
Correct?
Yeah, no, not even close.
Okay, so we're good there.
so the only thing I seen and by looking at Tom's numbers is even that $58,000 payment over 5 years may even make more sense. Yes, it's more than we're putting in every year, but with the $116,000 memorial picking up the tab for 2.5 years, it already puts us at well over. I mean, in the savings, I think what I calculated between there would be a 10 or a 12,000 interest cost on the 5-year lease would cost the city $18,292. Interest costs on the 7-year lease would cost the city $28,960. So almost a $10,700 difference you would save by going to the 5-year lease on a $58,000 payment versus the 43. So
My read of this is that it would require bond counsel to purchase. You have to, before you can issue proceedings for the issuance of the bonds, which is what this lease purchase is. You have to publish, receive objections, all the same stuff as what you've done for your other general obligations. It would be covered under 38425. I'm not saying it's insurmountable, I'm saying it's not just a resolution that you enter into a lease purchase agreement. You need to go to bond counsel, and they need to draft the paperwork to put notice of it and all of that stuff.
But you don't think it needs to go to vote a referendum?
I don't think it needs a vote or referendum, no. I think it needs your GO bond procedures. Right,
Bond council.
yes, bond counsel.
And that is common, bond counsel. Yeah, over a front, that was the thing, I was just texting her, but
Yeah, when you say voter referendum, in my head, I'm thinking geo bond stuff. It's just, we're talking the same thing, just using different language.
That's just something to think about at this point in time. Thank you guys for coming and explaining that.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anything else before we move on to the next item? Alright, thank you. Anything else under departmental reports? Then we'll move on to new business. We have a resolution certifying a lien to the Buchanan County Treasurer.
Second.
Any discussion? It'll be a roll call vote.
Bishop,
Yes.
Rolfson, Bell,
Yes.
Shares,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
Yes.
That resolution passes, and we have a resolution adopting a multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? That'll be a roll call vote.
Wright,
Yes.
Shares,
Yes.
Rolfson.
Yep.
Bishop,
Yes.
Bell.
Yeah.
And we have a resolution authorizing advancement of costs for an urban renewal project and certification of expenses incurred by the city for payment under Iowa Code Section 403.19 for the Prairie Winds Edition. And this is basically just certifying the city's cost to do the urban renewal plan for Prairie Winds. We get paid back before the developer does out of the TIF revenue.
And so we need to take the money out of the TIF fund and transfer it to the general fund, because that's where all the expenses were paid out of to produce the urban renewal plan and the development agreement. So in order to transfer from the TIF to general fund, we need this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote?
Bishop,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Rolfson.
Yep.
Shares,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
That resolution passes. And I would recommend that we appoint Stacy Conrad to the Library Board of Directors.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying no. That motion passes. Then we have a motion to approve a fire department volunteer. You got anything to say about this guy?
Kyle's still, he's in high school yet.
It's Kyle Rottinghouse.
Yeah, sorry, Kyle Writinghouse. Short term, I think, he's, got aspirations to go to the military right after high school, but, something he's, wants to be involved with, so took him on.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no. That motion passes. Then we have discussion regarding amendment to the zoning ordinance. I put a memo in the council packet. This is kind of in response to the house, I guess you wanna call it, house that was built next to me on Stevens Street. I know we had talked about that that's probably not very fitting for a residential district. And I've had a lot of conversations with the city attorney and John and Mike. We've kind of settled on two things to maybe deter people from doing that. One of them is simply just to say that the garage can't be bigger than the house. And then we also looked at basically not allowing vertical steel siding on a residential structure. Change the ordinance, we gotta go back, present it to planning and zoning, go through that process, but I wanna get the council's input, do you think we're on the right track on this?
Is there many houses that the garage is the size of the house? I know mine's really close, and I don't even feel like I have close enough garage space.
I don't think there's very many, if any, I can really think of where the garage space is bigger than the house.
Really? So it's not a common, I
don't think so.
I know they're getting bigger and bigger, you know. It's not like people's garages are getting smaller as the years go, so.
Right.
This written up in some other city ordinance that you were able to latch on to, or?
It's just,
The wall coverings we basically borrowed from another city.
The other one about limiting the size is relatively a problem, I'd say.
No. I'll throw this up here just for discussion's sake. But you can't really see it. This house in Hudson, the garage has vertical siding on it. This is probably $500,000 house. They use vertical steel siding for some accents on some of the other walls. I don't know,
So you got it in that they couldn't do that here in town?
the way that that's written, you won't be able to do that here in town. Obviously not what we're trying to prohibit necessarily, but we're trying to, the commercial style, basically, it looks like a pole building.
Can you have it just like, if you wanna use that, all you gotta do is come ask for permission and you can?
Could, or, I guess I didn't even think about it till now, but maybe like a certain percentage of it can't
Yeah,
be.
so, like, you said accent, I mean, I can definitely see
Yeah.
that used as an accent.
We threw around a lot of different ideas, and it's like, we don't wanna do something that's gonna prohibit somebody that's well-intentioned and
Yeah.
trying to stay within the ordinance. That's kind of why we only settled on the two things. We talked about probably half a dozen different things and just kind of kicked them back because, well, what about this? You know, talked about like wall height. Your wall can't be over a certain height. I brought up my house in the entryway. That's probably, I don't know, 15, 16 foot high wall there. Just, would that be illegal?
Find us anywhere else, Heather.
This exact problem, no. It's not, this is a new, unique problem. In terms of the garage size, well, and the exterior covering too, for that matter.
What does Hudson have?
There, that's okay.
Yeah, it's
That else is okay.
Do they have anything in regards to, what do they have in regards to shelves or whatever you wanna call it? Do they have anything in their ordinance?
Do a quick look right now, but. I don't think, they have a tiny house ordinance. I know they passed that. Interestingly.
I guess my other question is, if you don't wanna allow steel siding on the house, would you apply that to like garages, accessory buildings too? In a residential area, or would it be okay on there, but not just the primary house? In your newer subdivisions, the covenant agreement's gonna cover a lot of this. I mean, that's a better place for a lot of these details.
For sure.
But there are lots available in the older parts of town that don't have any covenant agreements. If somebody could buy a house and tear it down and build something.
Those covenant agreements on those newer ones have, it can be built of this, 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 and this, and the garage can't be any bigger or whatever, or?
They're all actually, a lot of them have, I think, like a minimum size for garages. I don't know that I've ever seen a maximum size of garage in a house, but they'll talk about.
But it appears to me that'd be a good place to look also for additional, to add to this.
Yeah.
Whatnot. Where subdivision would reflect more of the current times than subdivision that was done 15 years ago. We should look at some of those that are in the neighborhood for ideas. This is a start. I sit there and say I'm married to it, but it's a good start.
Yeah, it's just up there for discussion tonight. We don't have to take any action on it. If you have any other ideas,
Keep
please
looking
share
what
them
other
with me.
towns have and what other covenants have for housing subdivisions. Off to a great start.
There's no other input on that. We'll move on to Halloween. Usually our trick-or-treating times are from 6 to 8 on Halloween day. Do you wanna keep that?
Halloween,
It's on Sunday.
Oh, Sunday.
Some places do start earlier, like 5 to 7, but we've been 6 to 8 as long as I can remember.
I'll make a motion, we remain from 6 to 8, on Sunday for Halloween.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no. That motion passes. We have a motion to adjourn.
second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no. We're adjourned at 8:03. Thank you.
What do I need to do? Oh, you gotta shut that off, go ahead.